Oh, hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. Now, one of my favorite bands of all time, and I've talked about them before, is Ambrosia. They were a band that came out in the late 70s, became even bigger in the early 80s, and are still touring today. Now, what makes them so special to me is that they were this interesting and unique combination of what we might call classic prog rock with the jazz harmonics that inspired the so-called yacht rock of the late 70s, early 80s. A term that I hate, even though ironically with Ambrosia, it may apply because they initially formed in Redondo Beach, California, which is home to quite a few boats. But what's so interesting about them is they never really sacrificed one side of that equation for the other. The first two albums were produced by the mighty Alan Parsons, a sort of a namesake of prog, but who also had some interesting, sometimes jazzy harmonies snuck in to the music when you'd least expect it. And some of their songs, sounded like they could be played on a radio station after I Keep Forgetting by Michael McDonald, while other songs wouldn't have sounded out of place on a radio station playing Genesis-y type of music. And that was the brilliance of them. It was, West Coast prog rock, which really, when you think about it, is that sort of more jazzy, laid back feel that was characteristic of the Michael McDonald Doobie Brothers period, characteristic of Toto in a huge way, of people like Christopher Cross, from Texas, but that West Coast sound of the late 70s, early 80s. And Ambrosia, I think, should definitely be included in that, not necessarily in that somewhat disparaging term yacht rock, but in this idea that highly proficient musicians that were great songwriters played a rock and roll style that, because of the virtuosity required to perform it, was very progressive, but which definitely leaned in to the soulful and to the jazzy more than the neoclassicism of a lot of English prog rock bands from the late 60s and early 70s. The conclusion are just really well written, arranged, and performed songs, irrespective of how you want to consider the genre. And across all of their original albums, I would say that they were all really great and they make great cover to cover listens. I mean, there really isn't filler on Ambrosia albums, and the performing is peerless. So definitely check them out. They have a lot of loyal fans, but they should have been even bigger than they were, and now we can rectify that. So check them out and let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.